channel.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
Monday to Thursday on GB News, it's Bev Turner Today from 10 a.m. We're going to be here for you, our GB News family, to keep you up to date, but also make you smile.
The guy went from puberty to adultery.
And I can't wait to bring a few of my own opinions.
I have no time for cultural totalitarianism.
We'll engage in passionate, but always polite debate, with your thoughts and opinions at the centre of it all. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akua, Saturday and Sunday afternoons on GB News. Expect fiery debate and passionate discussion as me and my panel tackle some of the biggest topics hitting the headlines. It's a place for everyone's opinion. No one gets cancelled, but no one gets an easy ride.
Oh, she's on it today!
Be ready for conversations that are fierce, frank, and of course, fun. Every Saturday and Sunday afternoon from 4 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. You've been cancelled. Join the club. Oh, my goodness me. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
We are GB News, the People's Channel.
And right across the United Kingdom.
You can find us on Sky Channel 512,
Virgin Media Channel 604,
Freesat Channel 216,
Freeview Channel 236,
and YouView Channel 236.
You can also take us with you on DAB+ radio,
with the GB News app and at the website gbnews.uk.
We're absolutely everywhere.
Come join us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome. This is GB News on TV, online and on digital radio. I'm Nana Akua, and for the next 2 hours, me and my panel will be taking on some of the big topics that are hitting the headlines right now. This show is all about opinion. It's mine, it's theirs, and of course it's yours. We'll be debating, discussing, and at times we will disagree, but no one will be cancelled. So joining me today is broadcaster and columnist Lizzie Cundy, and also consultant editor at the Daily Mail, Andrew Pearce. Before we get started, let's get your latest news headlines.
Good afternoon, 1 minute past 4. I'm Tatiana Sanchez in the GB newsroom. At least one person has been killed following an explosion in St Helier in Jersey. The blast happened at a block of flats in the early hours of the morning. A search and rescue effort is underway, with police saying around a dozen people are still missing. Chief Officer Robin Smith told a news conference the fire service had been called to the area the previous night after residents reported the smell of gas. He warned the number of casualties could still climb.
We have a 3-storey building that has completely collapsed. Described as, from a demolition point of view, probably as a pancake that has just dropped almost sort of straight down. It is considerable destruction. And there are also damage to a nearby building as well, another set block of flats, which we need to sort of make safe, for fire service need to make safe. So it is a pretty devastating scene, I regret to say.
Energy regulator Ofgem says it's extremely concerned that vulnerable people in Sheffield have been without gas for a week. Hundreds of customers were left without heating after a water main burst last Friday, saturating the gas network. Ofgem has described the situation as extremely difficult, made worse by the sudden cold snap. Distribution company Cadent says all affected homes and commercial properties will be automatically compensated. Meanwhile, freezing temperatures have been causing travel problems across the country. Manchester Airport was forced to close both runways after heavy snow, affecting dozens of flights, but one has now been reopened. Yellow warnings are in place across Scotland, Northern Ireland, Wales, the southwest and southeast of England this weekend, with temperatures expected to drop to as low as -10 degrees in some isolated areas. RMT General Secretary Mick Lynch has called for an urgent meeting with the Prime Minister. It's to try to resolve the long-running dispute over pay and conditions for rail workers. Union members are due to stage 2 48-hour strikes next week following months of industrial action over the deadlocked row. Postal workers are also walking off the job with more industrial action tomorrow. Communication Workers Union Assistant Secretary Andy Fury says Royal Mail bosses must compromise if there's to be a breakthrough in negotiations.
The reality is all the mechanisms are in place for negotiations to take place, and for a breakthrough to happen, it does take two to tango, and the CW is prepared to compromise. We've made our position clear on matters where we're willing to work with the company, but there are issues that are completely unacceptable.
Millions of people are expected to watch England take on defending World Cup champions France in tonight's quarter-final in Qatar. Manager Gareth Southgate says they're better prepared for success than 4 years ago, but this will be the team's toughest test so far at the tournament. At home, supporters dare to dream in south-east London at the Kirby Estate and Bermondsey residents are cautiously optimistic.
I think we're going to win. I think, as I said before, I was talking to these, that we're going to win 2-0. I'm very confident.
After yesterday, I don't know what to think anymore. Some of the games yesterday were absolutely incredible. I mean, to be a neutral watching them is amazing, but to actually be a supporter, I mean, if we got a game like that tonight, I'm going to be all over the place. But if we can do what we've been doing, yeah, I reckon we've got a chance.
Around 200 migrants have been intercepted crossing the Channel this morning. One group managed to land on a beach at Sunfire Hoe near Dover. They've now been taken to the Manston Processing Centre. Calmer conditions are reportedly making the journey easier today. Over 44,000 people have crossed the Channel so far this year. A domestic abuse charity has paused operations over safety fears after the royal race row. It comes after Ngozi Fulani spoke about her treatment by Prince William's godmother, Lady Susan Hussey, who repeatedly asked her where she really came from during a reception at Buckingham Palace. The Sister Space charity founder says she and her team received horrific abuse on social media. The charity says it will reinstate its services as soon as it's safe to do so. And the King says the reassuring presence of ancient trees and woodlands is a fitting tribute to his late mother. The Monarch's Woods are part of a foreword for a new book called The Queen's Green Canopy. It features photos of 70 age-old trees and 70 historic woodlands, which were dedicated to Queen Elizabeth to mark her Platinum Jubilee. The book will be published in June, but its images are currently on display at a public exhibition in London. This is GB News. We'll bring you more news as it happens. Now it's back to Nana Akua.
Good afternoon. It is fast approaching 7 minutes after 4 o'clock. This is GB News on TV, online and on digital radio. I'm Nana Akua. What can I say? At the start of this docu-soap, I was getting all gushy, loved-up feelings, watching the first bit, Harry and Meghan, the love story. You almost got me, you two. But what followed once they'd softened me up was a subliminal onslaught of digs at just how racist this country is. The one that gave them both their titles and afforded them the platform to systematically slag it off. Yeah, good old soft touch UK. Having lived in this country for all of, I think it was, 18 months, at our expense, and most of which she spent in a palace or jetting around the world and doing a handful of engagements where she was received by the British public pretty well, Meghan appears to be pointing out that this backlash she is receiving is because of her race.
Very different to be a minority but not be treated as a minority right off the bat. But obviously now people are very aware of my race because they made it such an issue when I went to the UK. But before that, most people didn't treat me like a black woman. So that talk didn't have to happen for me.
I'm black? How can you possibly know how that feels? I can no more know how it feels to be a mixed-race woman that looks practically white than you can to be black. What a ridiculous and frankly insulting thing to say, especially given that she feels she's been treated badly. Her mum then actually spoke. I can see why she'd kept her trap shut all this time. She appeared to confirm that Meghan's treatment was all about race.
I said to her, I remember this very clearly, that this is about race. And Meg said, Mommy, I don't want to hear that. I said, well, you may not want to hear it, but this is what's coming down the pike.
Harry talks about how the other royal brides were treated badly, but with Meghan there is a race element. More talk about race than a story about how her mum was called the N-word in America, although what that has to do with racism in the UK is beyond me. Seriously, if you want to escape racism, why move there? One of the most racially divided countries in the world. It was almost laughable if they hadn't actually appeared to be taking themselves so seriously. And with two woke warriors to give us the historical context of the British Empire, with clips of slave images and a story of a racist brooch worn by Princess Michael of Kent. Maybe in the next episode we'll see Meghan wearing the gifts from the dodgy Saudi prince. We got a lesson about the evil British Empire. We see artwork depicting black people as slaves, which the voiceover seems to imply are in the palaces. None of these images were, by the way. The whole narrative seemed to point towards the view that the monarchy is institutionally racist. Meghan then tastelessly mocks curtsying to our dearly departed queen.
It was like that. Like, I curtsied as though I was like... Pleasure to meet you, Your Majesty. Like, was that okay?
Well, no, it was actually pretty disrespectful. These two really believe that their treatment was down to the fact that Meghan is biracial. Although, if you hadn't told me, I wouldn't have guessed. None of this could possibly be down to the climate preaching, their treatment of staff, the ugly self-pity in that awful Tom Bradbury piece when they visited people who'd had limbs blown off by landmines. Nobody ever asks how I am. The Oprah interview whilst Prince Philip was dying. The rift between the two brothers and the fact that apart from Doria, both of them don't speak to any members of their immediate families at all. And now, 3 months after the death of our Queen, they're pumping out this bilge. None of this, it would seem, they believe, is their fault at all. Look, I'm not saying that they haven't experienced racism, but my view of them has nothing to do with Meghan's skin colour. To be honest, we should have known. Even the trailer felt pretty disingenuous, where they claimed they would unveil the full truth about the dirty media tactics which they said forced them to leave their roles as working royals. A press-feeding frenzy, Harry claimed, targeted at his wife with a montage of paparazzi shots. Only, it turns out that one of the pictures was taken from Katie Price's court appearance. Crawley Magistrates Court is in the background. Another, where photographers are surrounding a limousine, taken from archive footage of Donald Trump's former lawyer, Michael Cohen, leaving his New York apartment for prison after he was jailed for tax fraud and lying. You mean, you couldn't make this up? Even in the teaser, the press shots were actually from a Harry Potter premiere before they met. There is, of course, no suggestion that they are trying to deceive us, but surely they could use their own stuff. After all, they did sneak a photographer into the palace. The next 3 episodes are out on Thursday. I think after that, frankly, it's curtains for this pair. I think we've all seen enough. So before we get stuck into the debate, here's what else is coming up today. For the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, should Harry and Meghan be stripped of their titles? MP for Sussex constituency Tim Loughton has called for Harry and Meghan's titles to be stripped. He's expressed frustration at the disrespect the couple have shown to the monarchy and the British people. So is it time for them to get rid? Then we'll talk strikes. It seems everyone wants to go on one, with the prediction that action will lead to 15,000 cancelled appointments and a rail strike that will devastate many venues who were badly affected during the pandemic. Have the British public lost sympathy for striking workers? Then at 4:50, it's Royal Roundup time. Royal biographer Angela Levin will be in the studio to give us all the latest from behind the palace walls. Camilla, the Queen Consort, hosted an evening for seriously ill children at Clarence House to open the festive season. She invited the youngsters alongside their families to help decorate the Christmas tree as part of an annual tradition. Then at 5 o'clock, stay tuned, it's this week's Difficult Conversation. Reggae artist Matt Hoy will be live in the studio. Now, Matt was part of the band UB40, but during the COVID pandemic, Matt refused to take the jab due to medical issues, and he claims he was then dismissed from the band. He's now released a single called Strong to help keep people's spirits up during these traumatic times. Stay tuned, that's on the way. Tell me what you think, as ever, on everything we're discussing. Email gbviews@gbnews.uk or tweet me at gbnews. Right, let's get started. Let's welcome again to my panel broadcaster and columnist Lizzie Cundy and also consultant editor of the Daily Mail, Andrew Pearce. Where is Andrew? Oh, there he is. There he is.
I'm here.
Yeah, he's there. He's still here. Andrew, lovely to see you. Lovely to see you as well, Lizzie. You. So I'm going to start with you, Andrew. OK, did you get to see the
I did.
Yeah, you did. OK, what did you think? What was your initial impression?
Another great, long, self-indulgent whinge fest from an incredibly privileged couple speaking from the luxury of their £15 million California home about this terrible, wicked world that they live in. But the only reason Netflix is paying them $100 million or pounds is because she married into the royal family, which she clearly despises. And I thought that probably the lowest point in the 3 hours, and there were quite a few to choose from, was when she mocked the Queen's curtsy, the curtsy to the Queen. What the hell? And Harry is thunderstruck, you can see on his face. Clearly, they've got no control over what Netflix do and don't use, because I bet you he tried to get that pulled.
I would imagine he would.
And Netflix would have just said, I'm terribly sorry, but we're paying you $100 million, we can use what we like. They are just beyond the pale. No evidence to substantiate these allegations of racism. We still don't know which member of the family allegedly said, will your children be more black or more white? And I'm so glad you made the point. She looks white.
She looks white. I mean, that's not, you know...
That's just a fact.
This is how I see it.
If she was stood next to you, people would say, you're the black woman, she's the white woman.
Yeah.
And she's milked this ever since she came into our lives.
And for me, it's got nothing to do with the colour of her skin. I don't care what colour she is. I don't like the way she's behaved. That's it. I don't care. She could be green with 10 yellow spots on it. It makes no difference to me. I think she's behaved disrespectfully.
I think they've committed treason, actually. They're trying to bring down the monarchy. And I think their behaviour is disgusting. As you said, Andrew, that bit where she did the curtsy. I actually thought Harry looked at her as if to say, you're lying. He looked embarrassed to me, but I think he can't control her. And I think it shows an absolute disrespect to the royal family, its traditions. It's an assault on our late Queen. And don't forget, this is a family still in grief.
I know.
We only lost the Queen just 3 months ago. You know, how disrespectful. You know, Harry, talks about grief, and we're all so, sad that he lost his mother at such a young age. But his father has just lost his mother. You know, what about William, who also lost his mother and has lost his grandmother? It's utterly selfish. And I really do feel they're trying to bring down the whole institution.
He also virtually wrote his father out of the narrative. But he talked about the awasomeness of his mother. Look, I was a huge fan of Princess Diana, and it was a terrible tragedy what happened. I'm afraid she paid the ultimate price of getting in a car with a drunk driver and not wearing a seatbelt. Forget all the conspiracy theories, but he virtually wrote his father out of that script. And how dare he suggest he and Meghan are the only royals who married for love?
That was a massive dig, absolute dig at William and Kate.
Yes,
and another thing which I really disliked throughout, the sort of grim pictures of Kate, who's always is smiling and also does hug, because there was another dig that she wasn't the hug.
That. Now, the thing that I hated the hugging comment as well. Because I'm a hugger, but the British people don't hug.
We do.
What do you know? You've only been here for 18 months or so. You didn't really speak to anybody. You didn't get to know anyone in this country. How dare you? And such an insult to us.
William and Kate, from everything I'm told, they've got a fantastic marriage. They look pretty good. The Queen and Prince Philip were married for 73 years. It was a fantastic marriage.
Well, I have to say, listen, these guys are the ones who have been together the least before they got married.
Yeah.
Catherine and William were together through university. They went through everything together. These two...
They broke up, got back together.
They went through it all. Camilla and Charles... They have had a love story going on for decades. For decades, be it whether you think it's right or wrong, they have.
Yeah.
Then you've got the Prince and the Queen.
Yeah.
What is it? How can he think that after being with this woman for how many years it is, not even 6 years or whatever, that it's great, everything's perfect, we're better than the others? I found it really disrespectful.
Well, Prince Edward's got a pretty straightforward marriage to the Countess of Wessex. She's not from a royal mould.
In the mould.
Her father had something to do with tyres.
Exactly. This Netflix should be called Liar, Liar, Pants on Fire, because from the beginning, as you said, Nana, from the trailer, the paparazzi shots, they weren't even for them. Katie Price is drinking drive-out, so Crawley magistrates court.
Well,
and
this guy
Harry
is going
Potter.
on his way to prison.
But they had to use these clips because there were no clips of the media stalking Meghan in the way they wanted us to believe. That's the point, because it's not like it was 25 years ago when Princess Diana alive, who was a worldwide icon.
Yeah.
She was pursued relentlessly, too much. It didn't happen like that to Meghan.
Yeah. But what worries me is people think this is their truth.
Oh, wow.
Their truth. No. Well, you know what? King Charles, please get gloves off. You've got to stick up for your family now, because they're saying all these allegations without any substance.
I think slightly for me, though, the worst bit was all the colonial stuff. I found that deeply disingenuous, because one of the things they didn't mention with all the cloning stuff is that actually the African people did sell their people to become slaves. So, saying, the English people, they made it sound as though black people were just simply ripped away from their place, and maybe some of them were. But at the end of the day, if you're going to tell the story, tell the truth. It was a trade, it was a business, it was wrong, it was bad. But the people of those countries sold their people.
And also to suggest that the racist sort of artwork and imagery was in the palaces when it isn't.
Really bad.
That's not true.
Just one small
very briefly, because
one thing it has shown, she's a brilliant actress. Because the whole thing has been an act from beginning to end.
And they started filming this a long time ago, good 22 months ago, so...
Well, anyway, listen, if you haven't seen it, maybe you don't need to see it, maybe you want to see it, but I think once you've seen it, I don't know whether you'll be up for the next three. So what do you think? Get in touch. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the monologue. You know the clue. But if you just joined me, welcome on board. I'm Nana Akua. This is GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. After the break, the Great British Debate this hour. We're going to carry on with this theme. Harry and Meghan, should they be stripped of their titles? The MP for one of the constituencies in Sussex, Tim Lawson, has called upon the King to remove Harry and Meghan's royal titles. But is this the right decision? After all, they might end up being Prince and Princess instead. Email me, gbviews@gbnews.uk. Tell me what you think. Tweet me at gbnews. I've got a poll up asking you that very question. Should Harry and Meghan be stripped of their titles? Cast your vote now. We'll be back after this.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates. Do you not believe in prison?
I don't believe in prison.
I'm completely stunned. I guarantee you there'll be no spin, no bias, no censorship.
I actually was personally quite offended by it.
And no reason to go to bed.
So I guess they've always been quite woke.
That's Dan Wootton tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
And the national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. for Gloria Meets. In exclusive interviews, I'll be finding out who our politicians really are and what they really think.
It's something that you would never want anyone to suffer.
I didn't know what channels there were. I didn't think I'd be believed.
I must have weighed about 7 stone and I'm 5'8".
My instincts was to sort of cover this up. I mean, clearly that was a mistake.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Hello there, it's Eamon Holmes here from Breakfast on GB News. We're not just on your television and your screens, you know.
We're on DAB plus digital radio, so you can listen to your favourite shows on the move.
If you've not yet listened to GB News Radio, it's very simple. We're on your radio player and TuneIn apps, on your smart speaker, phone or tablet, or online at gbnews.uk.
Take us with you wherever you go. GB News Radio.
You never have to miss a moment of the People's Channel.
My name's Tom Harwood and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today.
I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked.
Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
Things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Hello, I'm Simon Evans. Join me on GB News for Headliners at 11 p.m, where I'll be joined by two of the country's top comedians as we take a look at tomorrow's newspapers tonight. If it's a big story, we'll be covering it, I guarantee, but we'll also have some fun along the way. That's GB News Headliners at 11 p.m. We won't put you to sleep, unlike some of the other paper review shows out there. So join us, 11 p.m, 7 nights a week.
Good afternoon. If you just joined me, where have you been? We're live on GB News. I'm Nana Akua. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. We are the People's Channel. Now, before the break, we're discussing Harry and Meghan's new documentary, or docu-soap, I'm calling it. Let's see what you've been saying. Cecilia says, yes, mocking our Queen, it was a disgrace, especially when she was suffering during the later years of her life. That hideous curtsy was awful, wasn't it just? Mick says, if they want privacy, fine, but don't create an entire drama series about it. Harry should not be criticising the very family that brought him up. And Leanne says, Meghan has won the war. She married into royalty, then dragged Harry away to America and isolated him from his family. The man who was one of the most popular royals at one point. It's quite sad. Yeah, I think it's quite sad, but he doesn't seem to mind it, though. He seems to be quite happy about it. Doesn't seem to be worried. But let's carry on with the theme in our Great British Debate this hour. And I'm asking, what do you think? Should they have their titles stripped? Backbench MPs, including Bob Seeley, have called for Harry and Meghan to be stripped of their royal titles. Now, that's following the release of their controversial documentary. Now, the couple have actually been accused of attacking the royal family, the press and the Great British public. If you've had a look at that, you might actually agree that I think they did. The Isle of Wight MP has said that this has now become a political issue and is looking to bring in legislation that could see their titles removed. But Prime Minister Rishi Sunak did not back this. Meanwhile, an MP of one of the Sussex constituencies, Tim Loughton, claims it's time to take the titles back due to their lack of respect. And that is all as Employment Minister Guy Opperman said that he would boycott the Nexus series that is reportedly going to earn the couple more than 80 million quid. So what do you think? Should we remove their titles? Do they deserve to lose them? Or should they be just left to their own devices? So for the Great British Debate this hour, that is the question. What do you think? I'm joined now by Royal Butler Grant Harrell, political commentator Reem Ibrahim, reality TV star and commentator Narinder Kaur, and Royal Insider and socialite Lady Victoria Hervey. Right, so Lady Victoria, I'm going to start with you. I mean, I'm presuming everyone here watched this thing, right? We all watched it.
Yeah.
Lady Victoria, what do you think? What was your first thoughts?
Well, my thought was, I mean, yeah, completely disrespectful, obviously. I think as far as taking their titles away, look, with Prince Harry, he was born Prince Harry. I don't think you can take that title away from him. I think you can take the Duke and Duchess title from them, because ever since they've been married, obviously, like, it's just complete disrespectful, like every single thing they've done. But for him being Prince Harry, that is his name that he was born with. So I don't think they could ever possibly strip him of that, but take the Duke and Duchess away, and they should not be able to use their name in public for any engagements, anything.
But then there'll be Prince and Princess. Look, what do you think?
No, she's never going to be a princess.
She'll never be a princess. So if they take away the titles, then Prince Harry will remain Prince Harry and she'll just be Meghan Markle.
Yeah, but he won't be able to do any of what he's doing right now with his name.
OK. Well,
I feel bad for the children, though, because I think the kids, his children, when they grow up, they're going to probably lose whichever titles that they were originally going to inherit, I imagine.
But Meghan did say that she wants them to be normal people. She doesn't want them to have titles. She wants them to be called master.
But she said that, and then of course she wanted that, right? Didn't she say, oh, they weren't given prince and princess when they were little, and that's because of, you know, I'm half black and that whole debate. So
let me bring Narinder Kaur in. Narinder, what's your thoughts?
Hey, Nana. Hey, Victoria. I think everyone, including Andrew and Lizzie, sorry, Andrew and Lizzie, you all sound positively mad. You all sound deluded. I don't know which part of that documentary you watched and didn't see what I saw, which was a tormented couple who experienced so much racism. Why the hell should their titles be taken off them? If you're going to take theirs, please let's take Prince Andrew's title off them as well. Because I think Prince Andrew is a topic no one seems to want to talk about.
Well, actually, it's actually totally innocent. Let's not even talk about that right now.
Well, his allegations haven't been.
But Narinder, you don't know what I know. So
his allegations haven't. No, hold on, Narinder. But his allegations haven't been, verified. So we can't.
It's very different.
It's very. Let's bring in Grant Howard. Let's bring in Grant Howard. Let's bring in Grant Howard.
Hello, Nana.
Yep, go on. What do you think? Hurry up.
I think it's a difficult one because obviously the title was given by the Queen, and as Victoria's mentioned, you can't just take the title can't just be taken away. They can, I mean, of course, it's possible to take Duke and Duchess away, but she would still, through marriage, she's still Princess Henry of Wales, and she'll probably use that as a title if it came to it. So I don't think it's going to really resolve the issue. But I agree, the documentary, I've watched it, and it's not great. I mean, it sounds obvious. I'm glad the Queen's not here to see that documentary because it probably would break her heart. And who knows? I mean, I just don't think she would have, if she was here today, I don't think she would take those titles away. But it's a tricky one. I just feel sorry for the family.
Well, let's bring in Reem Ibrahim. Reem, what do you think? What's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I am sick to the death of hearing about unconscious bias and this idea that we have to continue to look back into the past. And Meghan's sort of conversation, I think, about colonialism and her entire point about sort of referring back to the past and being uncomfortable past. We know what happened. We've moved on. Clearly, she thinks that she's sort of importing the American sort of political dynamic around racism to the UK, and it's just not acceptable. She's accused the royal family of racism. None of those claims seem to have been founded, and I think it's quite frankly stupid.
Well, Narinder, you're shaking your head.
Social media, and she accused the media. She didn't accuse the royal family at all of racism.
Yes, she did.
You need to be clear. You are lying.
No, that's not. Narinder. She did actually say that somebody in the royal household made comments about Archie's skin. I mean, so she's accusing. That was in the Oprah interview, though.
That was Harry. Let's keep this correct.
Well, Meghan agreed, and
if there is racism, it needs to be exposed.
Yeah, but
why are you also deluded?
Well, you may say that, but I didn't see it, and what they're saying, I don't think there's anything particularly racist about.
It's an uncomfortable truth.
Sorry, can I finish? I don't think there's anything particularly racist about wondering how dark a child's skin will be. My son is called Ivory, and we were all laughing because we thought, God, what if he turns out really dark? Ivory is like a very light colour. We had to change it to ebony. Lady Victoria, what do you think? Lady Victoria, what do you think? Lady Victoria, what do you think?
Part?
Well, what Narinda's saying. I mean, she's saying that there was nothing racist in there.
I mean, look, there was definitely connotations of racism that both Harry and Meghan were talking about. I think it will be interesting seeing the second part of this series. I feel like we're going to get more than we did in the first one. Yes, it could have been almost a little bit worse, but the way Meghan, makes fun of the Queen, and it's just like very
make fun
unsavory.
of the South, Victoria.
What about?
She did make fun of the Queen.
She did.
And maybe
you watched a different show than I did, obviously.
Courtesying. It's just silly. She's just saying it's silly about herself. She didn't mock the Queen. Please, a
lot of people.
She mocked. She did.
Narinder, a lot of people have taken that badly. Grant, what do you think? I mean, you saw the curtsy. Would you say that was pretty distasteful?
Yeah, I mean, when I saw it at the time and she brought it up, I just thought, I can't believe what I'm kind of hearing and seeing. The whole thing, I just don't understand why they've done the documentary. I mean, I get that they've got a story they want to tell. I just don't get it. It's just not a thing that royals do. They never have done, and they shouldn't do.
Well, they should.
And
Well, they should,
originally, I think
Grant.
when they were going to step back from royal duties, I just assumed they would do their own thing. I still think they were going to do things in the media because obviously they are non-working royals, celebrity royals, as I call them. But I think these kind of things they're doing, I just feel sorry because it's such a good relationship with the family, and I just don't see how they're going to get that back. I really don't.
Grant, Prince Charles.
Let's go to Reem. We'll go to Reem.
Diana did an interview. All of them have done interviews. What's wrong with Harry and Meghan doing? Andrew's doing an interview.
I think the primary issue here is that sort of we can't get rid of their titles unless we do it through an act of Parliament. And the issue is they sort of the hypocrisy behind their entire idea around, we want to have a private life, we want to have our children to have a normal life in the US, and they come out with a documentary. That's not how you have a private life. Honestly, I couldn't care less what they do with their lives, but stop slandering the royal family and stop trying to give the Queen a bad name.
Yeah, well, I hear to that one. Well, listen, I'm going to thank you all for joining me. Reem Ibrahim, lovely to talk to you. Grant, Harold, Lady Victoria Hervey, and Narinder Kaur, good to talk to you. Thank you for that. So what do you think? What are your thoughts then? This is GB News. We're live on TV, online, and on digital radio. Thank you. Listen, so what do you think? Your thoughts? I mean, after the break, we'll be discussing that. I'm Nana Akua. We'll continue with the debate. I'm asking, should Harry and Meghan be stripped of their titles? You'll hear the thoughts of my panel, broadcaster and columnist Lizzie Cundy, and also consultant editor at the Daily Mail, Andrew Pearce. Then don't forget, 5 o'clock, this week's Difficult Conversation. Reggae artist from that top group, UB40, featuring Ali Campbell and Astro, will be live in the studio talking about how his decision to refuse the vaccine due to medical concerns led to his abrupt dismissal from the band. That's in his view. That's the reasoning. That's what he claims. I'll also be getting a sneaky peek into his new single, Strong. That's after your latest news headlines.
Nana, thank you. This is the latest from the GB newsroom. At least one person has been killed following an explosion in St Helier in Jersey. The blast happened at a block of flats in the early hours of the morning. A search and rescue effort is underway, with police saying around a dozen people are still missing. Chief Officer Robin Smith told a news conference the fire service had been called to the area the previous night after residents reported the smell of gas. He warned the number of casualties could still climb.
We have a 3-storey building that has completely collapsed, described as, from a demolition point of view, probably as a pancake that has just dropped almost sort of straight down. It is considerable destruction. And there are also damage to a nearby building as well, another set block of flats, which we need to sort of make safe, for fire service need to make safe. So it is a pretty devastating scene, I regret to say.
Manchester Airport has now reopened one of 2 runways which was closed after heavy snow. Dozens of flights were affected, with planes grounded as the airport worked to clear the tarmac of ice. Severe cold weather is causing travel problems right across the country, with yellow warnings in place across Scotland, Northern Ireland, Wales, the southwest and southeast of England this weekend. Millions of people are expected to watch England take on defending World Cup champions France in tonight's quarter-final in Qatar. Manager Gareth Southgate says they're better prepared for success than 4 years ago, but this will be the team's toughest test so far at the tournament. TV, online and DAB+ radio, this is GB News.
We are GB News, and we'd like to say thank you to each and every one of you for bringing us your conversations, for helping our great nation find its voice. We are here for you on radio, television, and online, across England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland.
It's not the BBC, you actually get your facts right.
We are proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
My
Monday to Thursday on GB News, it's Bev Turner Today from 10 a.m. We're going to be here for you, our GB News family, to keep you up to date, but also make you smile.
The guy went from puberty to adultery.
And I can't wait to bring a few of my own opinions.
I have no time for cultural totalitarianism.
We'll engage in passionate, but always polite debate, with your thoughts and opinions at the centre of it all. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akua, Saturday and Sunday afternoons on GB News. Expect fiery debate and passionate discussion as me and my panel tackle some of the biggest topics hitting the headlines. It's a place for everyone's opinion. No one gets cancelled, but no one gets an easy ride.
Oh, she's on it today!
Be ready for conversations that are fierce, frank, and of course, fun. Every Saturday and Sunday afternoon from 4 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch.
You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh my goodness me! And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
We are GB News, the People's Channel.
And right across the United Kingdom.
You can find us on Sky Channel 512.
Virgin Media Channel 604.
Freesat Channel 216.
Freeview Channel 236.
And YouView Channel 236.
You can also take us with you on DAB+ radio.
With the GB News app and at the website gbnews.uk.
We're absolutely everywhere.
Come join us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. This is GB News on TV, online and on digital radio. We are the People's Channel. I'm Nana Akua. Now it's time for our great British debate this hour. I'm asking, should Harry and Meghan be stripped of their titles following the release of their controversial documentary? MPs have called for Harry and Meghan to have their titles removed. Now, the couple have been accused of attacking the royal family, the press and the great British public. Isle of Wight MP Bob Seeley has said that this has now become a political issue and he wants to bring in legislation that could see their titles removed. But Prime Minister Rishi Sunak didn't really back the idea of this. So do Harry and Meghan deserve to lose their titles? I mean, will it actually be a positive thing? Will it actually have any effect? Or should they be left to their own devices? So for the great British debate this hour, I'm asking, should they be stripped of those titles? Let's see what my panel make of that. I'm joined by broadcaster and columnist Lizzie Cundy, also consultant editor at the Daily Mail, Andrew Pearce. Right, so, Lizzie, I'm going to start with you. Stripping of the titles, Narinder, who was screeching away there, not letting anybody get a word in edgeways, but she seemed to think that's ridiculous. No, it's not like that. Not like her at all, is it? Well, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I think they should lose their titles because they're making money out of the royal family. And if they hate it that much and they think it's got racism, there's this racism in the royal family, then leave. Don't have the titles. Stop making money out of it. How about they get their own identity and stop bleating and whinging and moaning continuously? They just, do something good in life instead of this. I mean, imagine trashing your family like that. Imagine that. And they're a family in grief. They're still grieving.
It's almost like an evil, ha, 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 look at what we've done, look what we've done to you now, ha, ha, ha. And it's all a bit, I'm thinking, hey, why would you do that? Why would you do that?
And they're hurting the royal family, and they're hurting the tradition, the monarchy, and all of the amazing 70 years hard work of our late Queen. And my only saving grace is that our Queen isn't there to see this and witness it.
I agree with what Lizzie's saying, but the one problem I have about this, if we strip them of Duke and Duchess of Sussex, which was a gift from the Queen on their wedding, Harry is still Prince Harry. He was born a prince. And that automatically his wife, the dread Meghan, becomes Princess Harry. So she will then become a princess. She's behaving like a princess, if you get my drift, anyway. So if we could find a way that they could only be Mr. and Mrs. plain Windsor, then yes. take the title away, but I don't...
Andrew, if those titles are taken away, that will have a massive impact in America.
I agree,
but Lizzie's saying that can't be done because it's almost like a birthright.
Yeah,
but can we remove...
I don't know that you can remove...
But it's almost like treason, isn't it? It's almost like treason, so surely...
If you can remove Prince as well,
I would
fine.
remove that.
But if you can't, then I think she'd be even more insufferable if she's called Princess Meghan. She would be known as Princess Harry, but she would not. But she would call herself Princess Meghan. And as the Mail have done brilliantly in the my paper today, mocking the Queen, how she curtsied to the Queen. How many times people curtsy to her? I wouldn't curtsy to her, or bow to her.
No way.
Or Harry.
Not unless I was about to chuck some sand in her eyes. Yes.
If the titles were taken, she would lose her credibility. And let's not forget, she wants this political career in America. Let's be honest, we know she wants that. And it will take away all of that. And my friends in America watching quite appalled. They are quite appalled with what's going on. They really are, and for why she did that curtsy, I think she'll live to regret it.
Well, she probably wanted that out of there.
It'd be interesting to see if we see any of the black glitterati in the United States still supporting her. The Obamas, for instance.
I don't think the Obamas will support her. I think they're gone. But I don't know.
They've got good judgment.
The Gayle Kings and all that, I think they're still on board. Let's see what our viewers think. This is Nothing Without You and your views. Let's welcome our Great British Voice on. Your opportunity to be on the show and tell us what you think about the topics we're discussing. Let's head over to Bristol. Let's speak to our regular Great British Voice, Lee Harris. Lee, we love Lee. Right, Lee, what do you think? Did you watch the thing?
I haven't, no. I'm tempted to, but I haven't got... Don't do it. I'm tempted to, but I don't know whether I want to waste parts of my life watching it, to be honest. But
well, you won't get those 3 hours back.
Just to find out what's going on, but... In short, yes, absolutely they should be stripped of their royal titles as soon as possible. I'm really glad to hear MPs have brought it up in that, going to be bringing it up in the House of Commons. And I'm very disappointed to hear that Rishi doesn't back it. He needs to read the room. They've abused their royal status for their own self-promotion and financial gain, and they've actively campaigned to undermine the British monarchy and pretty much everything that we stand for and hold dear. I completely understand why King Charles has kept a dignified silence. He loves Harry, and this must be immensely difficult for him after all that's happened recently. But I believe the time has come for him to stand up for this country, defend our culture and our monarchy against these nasty slurs. He needs to show some leadership and strip them of their titles, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think, listen, Lee, I think most people think that, but I'd go further and actually remove the Prince birthright thing as well. Listen, Lee, it's really good to talk to you. Thank you so much for joining me. As ever, Lee Harris, our Great British Voice. Lovely to speak to you. So, well, keep your thoughts coming, keep those messages coming. We'll read all those emails. But at the moment, you know what, it's Strike City. We've got mass strikes all over the country. They're set to paralyse the nation over the winter period. If you've looked at it, we're going through a cold spell, and thousands of postal workers are striking over problems with pay, which could prevent members of the public receiving parcels during the Christmas period, although I think people have got alternatives to do. We've got email, and there's DHL and all of them, and Hermes and all the other ones that can deliver. So I don't know whether we're going to miss them. And that's as the nurse strike. Well, we will miss these people. Is expected to cause 15,000 operations to be cancelled, which will add to the huge backlog that already exists due to the pandemic. And meanwhile, railway workers now are set to strike and walk out during the festive season. That will cause mass disruption in the weeks to come. So is the public losing sympathy for the strikers? After all, the taxpayer will ultimately pick up the tab. Let's see what my panel maker, that I've got consultant editor of the Daily Mail, Andrew Pearce, and also Lizzie Cundy, broadcaster and journalist. What do you think, Andrew? Are we losing sympathy for these people?
Well, I haven't got any anyway. So, absolutely none. The postal workers are literally turkeys voting for Christmas. This is the busiest time of year for the post office. There was an ad in all the newspapers this week from the head of the post office pointing out the post office was already losing, the Royal Mail was losing £1 million a day. That's before these postal workers committed Harry-Carry and went on strike for 5 days during the busiest period of the year. So people won't bother to post anything, or there's some suggestions today, you'll get your Christmas cards in February, and they won't go back to it. And we're already sending 60% less mail. It'll be a lot more. What are they thinking of? It is completely... It's self-destructive. Exactly the same, I think, for the rail workers. So many people now work from home. They'll continue to work from home. Fewer people will be on the trains. And it's really destructive. There's talk now that I was going to call him Bob Crow, the head of the RMT, Mick Lynch, wants to meet the Prime Minister. I think he knows this strike isn't working.
I think he knows it's not working.
I think he realises it's been a terrible miscalculation to inflict 4 days of strikes right over the Christmas period when he promised in various media interviews he was not going to take Christmas away. Mick Lynch, the Grinch.
He's in trouble. And the other thing is, it wasn't just about pay. A lot of them were saying that we don't want the idea of you being able to make us redundant, so we're going to remove that. But that is really a ridiculous thing to suggest that the employer will not have that ability to do that.
Do you think the RMT president, Alex Gordon, this is an ego run for him? Why his interest is in his own ego, really, in doing all this? Because it's cruel. We've been locked down. You know, for 2 years, Christmases haven't been quite the same, have they? And to take that away, from going to your work parties, going Christmas shopping, not being able to get anywhere and travel and all the rest of it, I think it is totally disgusting and cruel, and it is toxic timing.
Well, a lot of these people were supported through the pandemic as well. Obviously not the nurses, they worked very hard. But, it just seems a little bit absurd now, because actually we, the taxpayer, will actually have to pay for that. So if we see this through to its natural conclusion, it means that taxes will go up. So that's all of us, including those who get higher pay. A lot of those on higher pay will then go into a higher tax bracket. Yep. So all they're doing is robbing Peter to pay the Paul, and they're going to have to pay for it. So it's not working.
But it is coordinated, this, isn't it? This is a deliberate attempt to bring down the government.
That's what
it's about. There's an ulterior motive. That's what they're doing. Because useless Keir Starmer couldn't, if he was playing shooting penalties for England tonight against France, he'd hit the corner flag. Yeah. Because he just keeps missing. So the unions are doing it for him.
I think he'd actually missed the ball.
Where will Keir Starmer stand on this? Because he won't go on the picket lines, will he? He won't say. He sits on that fence.
The only time he's uncomfortable, that Sunak's making him uncomfortable because he's got a lot of pressure on at the moment, Sunak. But when he goes for him over the strikes, what's your position? Do you support the RMT? Do you support the health workers? He won't say. He's sitting on the fence. £15 million the trade unions have given to the Labour Party since Sir Keir Starmer became the Labour leader. That's why he won't say, because they pay the Labour Party's bills.
Well, listen, if you're watching at home, welcome aboard. If you're listening on radio, thank you for your company. Great to have you on board. Tell me your thoughts as ever. You can use the email gbviews@gbnews.uk or tweet me at gbnews. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. I'm Nana Akua. Now, after the break, it's time for our Royal Roundup. And Royal biographer Angela Levin will be live in the studio to give us the controversial Harry and Meghan documentary rundown. All of that is on the way after this.
Monday to Thursday nights on GB News. At 6, it's Dubes & Co. 7 o'clock, Farage. At 8, join Mark Stein. And at 9, Dan Wootton Tonight, followed by Headliners. On TV, radio and online. This is GB News.
Here on GB News Live, we'll be keeping you in the picture, finding out what's happening across the country and finding out why it matters to you. We'll have the facts fast with our team of reporters and specialist correspondents. Wherever it's happening, we'll be there from 12 noon on TV, radio and online. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and you can join me every weekday 6 till 7 on Dubes & Co. Me and my panel will get stuck right into the day's events, and I can tell you, in fact, I can warn you, expect some robust debates, some strong opinions and perspectives from both sides of the fence. It's about you at home as well. I love to read out all of your comments, or at least as many as I can. So join me, Michelle Dewberry, Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on Dubes & Co.
We are GB News, the People's Channel.
Why not take us home with you by visiting the GB News shop at gbnews.store. You'll find all the official merchandise, a really good present actually for yourself, your friends or your family.
We ship across the UK mainland at no extra cost. GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Mark White. As GB News Home and Security Editor, I cover those key issues that are so important to you. Our authorities, our communities doing all they can to combat violent crime. With the public services under unbearable strain, why are we still failing to control our borders? Defence, the first priority of any government, has been continually hollowed out. Can we trust our politicians to protect the armed forces? Join me, Mark White, on GB News.
We are GB News, right across the nation. You can get us on television, on radio, on digital. We're absolutely everywhere.
Amazing! You see, amazing!
You remind me of me in the European Parliament. But here's the most important bit. We are not part of the mainstream establishment. We think and speak just like you do. We are the People's Channel.
Magnificent. That's really, really thoughtful.
Come and join us on GB News, the People's News Channel.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
It's just coming up to 53 minutes after 4 o'clock. If you've just joined me, welcome on board. This is GB News on TV, online and on digital radio. Don't forget, you can also download the GB News app. But as ever, there is always something going on in the royal household, and this week has definitely been no different. The Queen Consort Camilla hosted her regular Christmas party for seriously ill children and their parents at Clarence House earlier this week. And, of course, we'll be talking about Harry and Meghan, their new documentary, as we love to give you a rundown. So I'm joined now by royal biographer Angela Levin. Angela.
Hello.
Hello. Where do you want to start? Where do you want to start? Your blood is boiling. Should we start? Let's cool you down. So start with that.
Yes. Well, I am bloody boiling because I thought they were...
Pardon the language, but...
I thought they were disgraceful. I checked very carefully that there was not one word of gratitude throughout 3 hours. Nothing. Meghan would be nothing if she hadn't married a prince and been looked after and encouraged by the royal family. And yet she takes that so much for granted that she couldn't even add that word in. Yeah. She wants to kill it all off, absolutely crush it to pieces. And I think we've got to have a big fight back to protect our royal family and our own kingdom, you know. I mean, it's just beyond words, really. And Harry, when he actually showed a glimpse of being not very pleased with her, because most of it he was looking at her adoringly, that's OK. But when she did that phony curtsy, and then with the squeaky voice said, "I'm so pleased to see you, Your Majesty," you know, and he looked horrified, but he didn't have the guts to say something about it, even on air. He could have done it quite nicely and said, you know, leave my
But you saw his jaw sort of clench, his jaw sort of clenched, and then he swallowed.
And it showed actually how much he's under her spell and under her control, that he doesn't actually dare say something about that. His grandmother, who he loved so much, who he flew over to see that she was being looked after properly, none of that came through. He just accepted it. Because what Meghan says, Meghan's always right. You mustn't criticise her.
But you know what, though? I also think, though, that he is culpable too, because he is not doing himself any favours either. Whilst I know he's under a spell and all that, the two of them together, I think, are quite a toxic combination. And I won't all throw it back to her, because I know he should be doing a lot more. If he really thought that was disrespectful, he should have put her in a place.
Yes, I'm not excusing him. I'm just saying that I thought that was the only time where he looked as if he didn't approve, but he still didn't have the guts to do it. No, he's a completely different man from the one I knew when I was writing his biography. There's almost nothing that you can see is similar. And I think, in a way, he's very frightened, because Meghan once has said that Diana's inside her. And I think because he believed... Meghan said that. Because he believed that his mother is still looking down on him that if he didn't go along with her, he might offend her. I think it's an extraordinary feeling, but that to me means that it is where she's got the grip, that if he feels that he would upset his mother, then he will stay with her and go along with her. And it's tragic, absolutely tragic.
But he doesn't think it's tragic. He looks like he's in the lap of love, in the best place ever, and they are as thick as thieves on this one together. I don't think they can even see how disrespectful they are, because from my view, watching that, it felt like they believed that this was all down to her race, and that's why people were treating her a certain way. And listen, if you blindfolded me, I never saw what she looked like, and I heard how she was behaving, I would still come up with the same conclusion. It's got nothing to do with the way she looks.
No, it hasn't got anything to do with the way she looks, because actually they use that if you disagree with them or criticise them at any level, then you are a racist, which is not actually the correct explanation of what a racist is. So, I mean, I think she's included that in her brain, that you can't actually criticise or doubt them or say anything about them because they jump on it. I think she's found a very good sales point, and this is how she captures so many people following her, because they feel sorry that she is suffering from racism. But actually, you have to be one step aware, and we're not at all racist, but we just don't like her or how she behaves.
Let's feel sorry for multi-millionaire, privileged Princess Meghan. I don't think so. Angela, we need to move on. Let's get on to something else. Cumbria, she's amazing, really, isn't she? I know she had a rocky road at the beginning, but she did prove herself. You know, she went through all of that. And it was on the same day, wasn't it, that this particular event happened?
It was a shame because it got almost no publicity, but it is one of her top priorities. And every year since 2006, she makes a party for children who probably won't see the following year. They're all extremely ill, and the parents come along, and she does this party, and she serves the food, she serves the drink, she sits on the floor and chats to them, and she does, this year there's a Father Christmas who's come along, and she gets animals to come along and to stroke them, and reindeer, and the kids just love it. And she feels that's when Christmas belongs to her. And it's a tremendously good thing because the families are so unhappy and stressed. But to come to see the Queen, or then before the Duchess, and have all those things. And there's loads for them to eat, and they have sausages and mashed potato, and sometimes the name's done in the mashed potato. It's a really brilliant thing, and it's very happy. And there's a Grenadier Guard there who has a big hat and a sword, and all the children are allowed to try the hat on, which they roar with laughter. And the sword is used to put each light and decoration on the Christmas tree, huge Christmas tree. And the children are there with their mouths open,
and of course,
looking at this.
This was all overshadowed because it was
This is all completely overshadowed. So I'm pleased to talk about it because it happens every year apart from the COVID year when it was done remotely. But it's a very, very kind, thoughtful and warm thing to do.
And that's what we really want to see our monarch doing.
Exactly.
That's how we would like them to behave, not selling their story and behaving in a manner that is not really becoming. Angela Levin, thank you so much.
Thank you
for coming to join me. That is royal biographer Angela Levin. Right, if you've just tuned in, welcome on board. More to come in the next hour. So it's just gone at 5 o'clock. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. This is GB News. And for the next hour, me and my panel will be taking on some of those big topics hitting the headlines right now. But first, let's get your latest news headlines.
Thank you, Nana. The latest from the GB newsroom. Some breaking news this hour. The number of people killed in an explosion in the Jersey capital, St Helier, has risen to 3. The blast happened at a block of flats in the early hours of the morning, and several people are still reported as missing. Earlier, Jersey Police Chief Officer Robin Smith told a news conference the fire service had been called to the area the previous night after residents reported the smell of gas. He warned the number of casualties could still climb.
We have a 3-storey building that has completely collapsed.
described as, from a demolition point of view, probably as a pancake that has just dropped almost sort of straight down. It is considerable destruction. And there are also damage to a nearby building as well, another set block of flats, which we need to sort of make safe, or fire service need to make safe. So it is a pretty devastating scene, I regret to say.
Energy regulator Ofgem says it's extremely concerned that vulnerable people in Sheffield have been without gas for a week. Hundreds of customers were left without heating after a water main burst last Friday, saturating the gas network. Ofgem has described the situation as extremely difficult, made worse by the sudden cold snap. Distribution company Cadence says all affected homes and commercial properties will be automatically compensated. Meanwhile, freezing temperatures have been causing travel problems across the country. Manchester Airport was forced to close both runways after heavy snow, affecting dozens of flights, but one has now been reopened. Yellow warnings are in place across Scotland, Northern Ireland, Wales, the southwest and southeast of England this weekend, with temperatures expected to drop to as low as -10 degrees in some isolated areas. RMT General Secretary Mick Lynch has called for an urgent meeting with the Prime Minister. It's to try to resolve the long-running dispute over paying conditions for rail workers. Union members are due to stage 2 48-hour strikes next week following months of industrial action over the deadlocked row. Travel expert Simon Calder told GB News most people travelling by train have nothing to worry about.
Train operators, the government, everybody else is saying, don't try and travel. Please don't. Stay away, stay away. Ignore that. There are, and I've surveyed all of this, there's more trains running during these strikes than there have during any of the previous national strikes, which have been going on since June. OK, so as long as you're wanting to go on one of the main intercity lines, you live in one of the big cities, then there's going to be trains between about 8 in the morning and 6 in the evening.
The Prime Minister and French President are both getting their jibes in early as England and France prepare to play each other in the World Cup quarter-finals. Emmanuel Macron tweeted that he was looking forwards to the game and asked Rishi Sunak would he wish Le Blues luck if the team makes it through to the semis. The Prime Minister responded saying, hopefully I won't have to, and asked if the sentiment would be reciprocated. What millions of people are expected to watch that game tonight, which kicks off in just under 2 hours' time. Manager Gareth Southgate says they're better prepared for success than 4 years ago, but this will be the team's toughest test so far at the tournament. At home, supporters dare to dream in south-east London. At the Kirby Estate in Bermondsey, residents are cautiously optimistic.
I think we're going to win. I think, as I said before I was talking to these, that we're going to win 2-0. I'm very confident.
After yesterday, I don't know what to think anymore. Some of the games yesterday were absolutely incredible. I mean, to be a neutral watching them is amazing, but to actually be a supporter, I mean, if we got a game like that tonight, I'm going to be all over the place. But if we can do what we've been doing, yeah, I reckon we've got a chance.
And around 200 migrants have been intercepted crossing the Channel this morning. One group managed to land on a beach at Samphire Hoe near Dover. They've now been taken to the Manston Processing Centre. Calmer conditions are reportedly making the journey easier today. Over 44,000 people have crossed the Channel so far this year. This is GB News. We'll bring you more news as it happens. Now it's back to Nana.
Hello, good afternoon. This is GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. I'm Nana Akua, and for the next hour, me and my panel will be taking on some of the big topics that are hitting the headlines right now. This show is all about opinion. It's mine, it's theirs, and of course it's yours. We'll be debating, discussing, and at times we will disagree, but no one will be cancelled. So joining me today is broadcaster and columnist Lizzie Cundy, and also consultant editor at the Daily Mail, Andrew Pearce. Still to come, my difficult conversation. Reggae musician Matt Hoy. Now, he was part of the musician group UB40. Now, that featured Ali Campbell, an astro. He'll be live in the studio. Matt refused to get the COVID vaccine following medical complications, and he claims that he was subsequently let go from the band. He's now released a single called Strong to inspire others who have gone through similar situations. On the way as well, our Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, is coal the right way forward? Now, the government's plan to build a new coal mine in Cumbria worth £165 million has been met with widespread anger. Those who support the move suggest the mine would provide local employment and it's aiming to be net zero in its operations. But critics say it would undermine the country's climate change targets. So I'm asking, is coal the right way forward? And later on, of course, the football's on tonight. So we've got some football fever, as Eclipse the Nation will be speaking to some of our journalists across the UK. England are preparing to face their big rivals, France, later this evening in the quarterfinals of the World Cup. But can they reach the semis? Who knows? I'll be getting live reaction from Qatar. Email gbviews@gbnews.uk or tweet me at gbnews. So it is now time for this week's difficult conversation. It's just gone 7 minutes after 5 o'clock. English reggae musician Matt Hoy, who's part of the music group UB40, remember them, featuring Ali Campbell. He suffered from an adverse reaction to the flu jab during his first time in the band. And I can tell you, I've had a bad reaction to a flu jab one time and it wasn't great. Matt also has arterial fibrillation, which causes him to have an irregular heartbeat. And during the pandemic, Matt refused to get the COVID jab due to his medical concerns, and he claims he was subsequently dismissed from the band. Now, following on from his ordeal, Matt wrote the song Strong to raise awareness about climate.
Strength and unity to push us through the dark. Guidance and understanding and insight to our hearts. Not now, not ever will you take away our confidence. Not now, not ever will you make us feel irrelevant.
Oh, sorry. Now, Matt wishes to help others who find themselves in a similar situation. His main focus now is to continue creating music as a solo artist and inspire others to stand up for medical anonymity. I'm now pleased to say I'm joined in the studio by reggae artist Matt Hoy.
Yay!
Hey, Matt Hoy. I love that song.
Thank you.
Can I be in your music video?
Yes, of course.
I'll give you a clip
the
of
next
me
one,
dancing.
you're the star of it. Yeah.
I've got a clip of me dancing. Can I be the star in it?
Well, as long as you send me that clip so I can test it.
I'll send you the clip,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can test it first, you'll see it. And you can check it out as well. It's on Instagram.
You're better than me, though.
It's not about me. It's not about me, Matt. It's all about you. So talk to me then. You are a vocalist.
Yes, yeah.
UB40, which has been going on for years. You weren't there at the beginning, though.
No,
Obviously.
no.
When did you join the band? How did that come about?
I joined in 2010. What it was, when Ali Campbell left the original lineup of UB40, he went solo. And kind of around the end of 2010, I joined him as a vocalist to be part of his band and was with him for 12 years. It just carried on. We toured the world together and, you know, it was a nice little blend.
But were you a vocalist then, though, when you were joining it?
I'd done various vocals for different people over the years. You know, I was a jobbing vocalist. You know, I'd been in bands, my own bands. I was also a songwriter. So yeah, I was kind of involved in the industry from way back. You know.
So was that your big break then? Because you said you were jobbing and everything. UB40 is a pretty huge band.
It was a big break in the sense for me because I'm from Birmingham. So anybody who's from Birmingham will know that the UB40 are like the Beatles of Birmingham, you know. So to be a part of that and also be a part of something that you've followed from, you know, when I was at school, leaving school the last years, it was all Homely Girl and, you know, Kingston Town. So to be a part of that and sing Red, Red Wine every night was such a privilege, you know. So it was amazing, yeah.
You sang that. You see, the thing is, I used to see UB40 and I didn't really know what any of the band members looked like.
Yeah.
And that one song, Red, Red, I was like, oh, God, not that song again.
Yeah.
But as you get older, you realise what a classic tune that is. I mean, that is a classic song.
Oh, it's amazing. It really is amazing. I mean, the thing is, I've been to places that I didn't even know existed, you know, singing that
What's
song.
the weirdest place you've been that you didn't?
Well, we've done Papua New Guinea.
Oh,
We
lovely.
did Papua New Guinea. We did the Solomon Islands.
Did you actually
French
get to go
Guiana.
out much and see the things whether you were there, or was it just all...
It depends on whether we had a few days off or not. But just experiencing those different cultures was something special. But Red, Red Wine, that was the main song as soon as you went on stage. That's what... I think people would have been happy if we'd have just done an hour and a half of singing Red, Red Wine, because that's all they wanted, really. So, yeah, it was a privilege. It was great.
And your time in the band, if you were to describe it in a nutshell, what would you say it was? What was it like?
It kind of split down the middle. It was a wonderful thing because it was an experience nobody could ever have. You know what I mean? You tour in the world, going to places, like I've said, that I've never even dreamed of going, Hawaii and Japan and New Zealand, all these beautiful places. But on the other hand, it was very cheap, in a sense. It was very hung together, very loosely, and the band wasn't really looked after, in a sense, in that way.
Really? So you didn't get to stay in five-star hotels and people imagine...
We stayed in nice hotels. I think what it stemmed from originally with Ali, when he first left the original lineup, it was more that he couldn't really have sold like a Mecca bingo. You know, he was on his own, he was struggling, and the musicians that he had in the band, they're world-class musicians, and they played with world-class artists. And we kind of stuck by him. He said, look, you know, I'm going to get back on my feet, and as soon as I'm back on my feet, you know, I'll look after you. That never really happened, unfortunately. From that point in 2010 up until more or less when I left before the pandemic in 2019, we were doing the O2 Arena really on the same kind of money that we were doing crappy little theatres in.
Really?
You know? Yeah,
Unfortunately. I imagine that people doing these things got paid a fortune. So, in the end, talk to me about leaving the band and why that all came about. Because, I mean, we've alluded to it, that it was partly something to do with the vaccine. But what was the situation? Describe what happened.
It came about in 2021, March, it would have been. I'd already had a flu vaccine, which I had a reaction to. For me, going through the pandemic...
You say you had a reaction, because I had a jab that had a reaction, which I think brought on an autoimmune condition. And, you know, it was literally within 3 or 4 weeks of this thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, that ever since then, I've never been the same. I actually have to make sure now things like COVID jabs, I'll have to have them otherwise.
Of course.
So what kind of... Can you say what the reaction
was? No, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I had the flu. Basically, I have a condition called atrial fibrillation, which my heartbeat is irregular. I had a procedure called a cardioversion, which shocks your heart back into rhythm. The consultant at the time said to me, I advise you that you get the flu jab because you're considered as being vulnerable after having such a procedure. So listen to the doctor, absolutely fine. I had the flu jab. Within 36 hours, I had a huge growth in my lymph gland underneath my armpit.
Yeah.
And as it started to decrease and go down, it threw my heart back out of rhythm. So it was quite a severe reaction to this vaccination.
And did they say it was definitely a reaction to that?
Yes, yeah. So I knew from that point on, being as it was SARS, but it was the same kind of virus, the COVID vaccine was not for me. So at that point with UB40, it came across that we were, it looked like we were going to go out and start doing some live work again. And the management was saying, look, you know, the prospect is there. We're going to put things in place. One thing we will stipulate, though, is that each band member has got to have the vaccine so we can continue to work. Unfortunately, obviously, I couldn't have it. So I kind of put that across to the band saying, look, you know, I've had this side effect. They knew the condition with the atrial fibrillation. Anyway, a couple of months went on, fast forwarding, and I just said, look, unless I have this vaccine, am I still permitted to be part of this unit and perform? And they said, no. You need to have the COVID vax. So
they actually said that to you square in your face?
No, they didn't. No, they didn't. Not at all. I wish they had done that. Would have been wonderful. It was all done via text message.
Oh, really? So what you have is written there, them saying, no, unless you have this vaccine, we can't.
Yeah, it was actually my other half's idea to get it in writing. Yeah. So you need to speak to these people and get it in writing. So I have all that, yeah.
So it's actually in writing. They've actually said it. Obviously, they're not here to defend themselves.
No, of course,
but it's in writing.
But it's in writing, yeah.
So this is specifically, so because of that, you were not able to go on tour with the band?
No. And ironically, the first show they had back was in Leeds at Millennium Square. And they had to cancel anyway because 2 of the band members tested positive for COVID. And they'd all been vaccinated. So I could have gone through a procedure and been seriously damaged for the first show to be cancelled.
Well, maybe,
anyway.
but maybe not. But the other thing is, actually, if they were going abroad to other countries, lots of those countries had their own vaccination deals as well. So some countries you couldn't...
Absolutely. There could have been procedures that they could have gone down to say, well, we will do the PCR route. We'll do, you know, there was nothing. It was just like dead no. That's it, you're out, you know.
So that was that. So talk to me about how that's been for you and what implications that's had for you.
It's had a lot of implications on me. I've suffered from mental health issues since my mother passed away in 1999. I've had depression. The thing is with touring, when you finish a tour, you kind of go into your own little lockdown anyway. That's what you do because you've been touring for so long and travelling. You just want to go home. But when the pandemic hit and we did the lockdown thing, it kind of went on a bit longer than you were used to. And the mental health side of things did kick in. It was, and everybody's different who suffers with depression. We all deal with it in our own little ways. For me, the whole thing with work it was the light at the end of the tunnel. It was something to get through, to get to that point. So when that actually hit, and they said, no, you can't work now because, you've got to have the vaccine, it kind of decimated everything for me. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what to do with myself, because that was the goal, to get back to work.
So what about in terms of support then? Is there anybody who is sort of fighting your corner to help you?
Oh, God, yeah, no, you've mentioned that there. The wonderful Workers of England Union, they've supported me endlessly through the whole of this.
So what are they? What exactly?
Well, they're a union. They're based up north. They're in Manchester. And they've basically looked after me. They've kind of stood by me in the sense where there's been so many people that have, because the vaccine was mandated, especially in the healthcare sector, that were forced into having the vaccine. And, unfortunately, there's thousands upon thousands of people that are injured from this vaccine now. And they don't know where to go. They don't know who to talk to. And these people have lost, their livelihoods, they've lost their homes, they've got no money, and they don't know who to talk to. So what I'm trying to do is, with my situation with UB40, is help that. All their stuff, the Workers of England Union, is posted over my social medias, it's on my website. It's easy to join, and they can help. There is somebody out there to talk to.
Yeah, obviously, in a way, some would say they weren't forced, but if they didn't do it, then they couldn't do something else, because obviously you do have your own choice as to whether...
Absolutely, yeah. That's the key, Nana. I think it's choice more than anything.
The choice would mean that you couldn't do the job you were doing if you took the choice of not doing it.
Yeah.
That is tough. That is tough. So now where are you? So if you're in the situation where you've got somebody fighting your corner now, I don't know whether you can talk about where you are with it and what your next step is then. What is the next
Well, obviously we want to take legal proceedings, obviously, towards UB40 featuring Ali, and use this as a precedent for other people that have been in that situation. Especially, I kind of tend to see it mainly in the healthcare sector that people were forced into doing it. And, well, not so much forced, they
But given
felt...
a choice that was almost like an ultimatum, I suppose.
And some people felt pushed into it, So now they're on their own, and like I've said, they've lost a lot. Their homes, their livelihoods, everything. And the mental health of these people as well, they don't know where to turn, and people are struggling. So if I can be that person to help or guide and, push it through, then so be it. I really want to help
So if you're
people.
doing that, what if people want to sort of, get in touch? Are you doing anything for people to find out more about
Well, there's the track that's there the minute that you played earlier, kindly. Yeah, Strong. For me, it was a self-help situation, writing that. It was, when you don't know where to turn and you feel that you need to empower yourself and empower others, to not be bullied, to not be pushed around, to do the right thing. That's what it was for me, getting that out there. But yeah, like I said, working with the Workers of England Union, all their links are all over my social media, Matt Hoy Official. So if we can help anybody in the same position, then please get in touch.
Well, people will look. I know you're crowdfunding as well, aren't you?
Oh, God, we're doing the crowdfunding thing. This is the beginning of it. If we can push this through, we can get the support, it will definitely set a precedence.
Well, listen, Matt, it's been so good to talk to you. Your single Strong, is it out now?
It is out now. It's all over YouTube, yeah.
And is it doing well?
It's doing really, really well. I'm so surprised. It would have done better if you were dancing on it.
Yeah, well,
I wish you'd have told me beforehand, but,
Is that, so you're saying there's a video out there already?
Yeah.
You can add my clip in, I'll show you.
I'll have to put an extra 30 seconds on the end, won't I? Yeah.
30 seconds. Just 5. Matt Hoy. Really good to talk.
Oh, pleasure. Thank you, Nana. Thank you.
He was a member of UB40, but now he's doing his own thing. It's called Strong. You need to check it out. He's a reggae artist. Well, I must say, although in some cases people do have adverse reactions to vaccines, they are proven to be safe and effective for the vast majority of people. We also requested a response from UB40 but haven't heard back. However, UB40 have previously said that whilst we accept that everybody's freedom of choice and decision regarding taking the vaccine, unfortunately, the EU and many other countries have quarantine periods and legislation in place that makes touring and performing incredibly difficult for us to be able to plan for obligated dates. The vaccine is backing everybody into a corner. Nobody should be forced to take it, But this was Matt's decision to leave. We would like to wish Matt all the best in his future endeavours and thank him once again. This is GB News. On the way, it is time for the Great British Debate this hour. I'm asking, is coal the right way forward? Now, opposition is growing after levelling up Secretary Michael Gove approved plans to build a coal mine in Cumbria. Critics argue that it will threaten the country's climate change targets, whilst others say that it's beneficial for the economy. So, is coal actually the right way forward? We'll be discussing that after this.
I'm Mark Dolan. Join me at 11 on GB News for Headliners, in which I'll be joined by two of the UK's top comedians discussing tomorrow's papers. If it's an important story, we'll cover it, but we'll have some fun along the way. Headliners, the late-night paper review that won't send you to sleep like the others will. 7 nights a week at 11 p.m. on GB News.
Monday to Thursday nights on GB News. At 6, it's Deebs & Co. 7 o'clock, Farage. At 8, join Mark Stein. And at 9, Dan Wootton Tonight, followed by Headliners. On TV, radio and online. This is GB News.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates.
Do you not believe in prisons?
I don't believe in prisons.
I'm completely stunned.
I guarantee you there'll be no spin, no bias, no censorship.
I actually was personally quite offended by it.
And no reason to go to bed.
So I guess they've always been quite woke.
That's Dan Wootton Tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Lawrence Fox, on GB News. Frank, fun, fearless, and sometimes serious. Much as I love a Friday night punch-up, what I really want is a battle of ideas. I want to look at things differently. I want to hear different voices and engage with your unique experiences. Every Friday at 7 p.m. on GB News.
Hello, I'm Esther McVeigh.
And I'm Philip Davis.
Whether you're watching or listening on TV, online or on radio, we handpick the latest stories, debates and expert opinions for your weekend. So whether that's politics, news or showbiz, we've got it covered.
Join us every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock on GB News.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. for Gloria Meets. In exclusive interviews, I'll be finding out who our politicians really are and what they really think.
It's something that you would never want anyone to suffer.
I didn't know what channels there were. I didn't think I'd be believed.
I must have weighed about 7 stone and I'm 5'8".
My instincts was to sort of cover this up. I mean, clearly that was a mistake.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, it's Eamon Holmes here from Breakfast on GB News. We're not just on your television and your screens, you know.
We're on DAB plus digital radio, so you can listen to your favourite shows on the move.
If you've not yet listened to GB News Radio, it's very simple. We're on your radio player and TuneIn apps, on your smart speaker, phone or tablet, or online at gbnews.uk.
Take us with you wherever you go. GB News Radio.
You never have to miss a moment of the People's Channel.
Good afternoon. It's fast approaching 24 minutes after 5 o'clock. This is GB News. We are the People's Channel. I'm Nana Akua. Now it's time for our Great British Debate this hour. I'm asking, is coal the right way forward? Now, protesters have taken to the streets to demonstrate against the government's decision to approve plans for a new coal mine in Cumbria. Now, it's worth £165 million, and this will actually be the first in the country for more than 3 decades. Community Secretary Michael Gove gave the project the go-ahead as he claims that it would have a neutral effect on climate change on the whole. And he also said that new green technologies won't be able to replace fossil fuels in production of steel for many years to come and would otherwise need to be imported. Proponents of the move argue that the mine would provide local employment, aid with the wider community and economy, all whilst aiming to be net zero in its operations. But critics have hit out at the government, stating that it would threaten the country's climate change targets, dubbing it retrograde decision. It's been estimated that over the next 50 years, the mine would release 420 million tonnes of CO2. Now, that roughly equates to what the UK as a whole emits each year. So what do you think for the Great British Debate this hour? I'm asking, is coal the right way forward? I'm joined now by Director of Car26, Lois Perry. Lois, thank you so much for joining me. I thought you were going to be in the studio. Oh, she's out there. Lois, so what do you think?
I know. I'm sorry. Yeah, I couldn't get in, but here I am. Apologies. Next time, 100%.
At least you saved those carbon emissions. Now, I'm going to ask you then. So, do you support the opening of the first coal mine for 30 years?
Yes, finally, a clever, expedient, and fantastic decision from the government. We need steel. Steel is what makes, we can't build things without steel. We can't have any infrastructure. We can't make things. We can't make nuclear reactors. We can't do anything without steel. And coking coal is a key process in terms of making steel. In fact, it's actually an ingredient in the steel process. So how fantastic that we're actually doing this and we're not importing. It's even if you believe that CO2 is an issue, which I don't and my organisation doesn't, it's reducing emissions extraordinarily because we're not importing coal. It's fantastic.
Now, do you think it's a bit ironic how everyone criticised Thatcher for closing down coal and steel mines, and now it's actually the left who are opposing the opening of a coal mine, which is actually set to create hundreds of jobs?
It's unbelievable. The same people with the same, you imagine ideologies as the extreme left who were opposing the mines being closed down in the 80s, and now saying that we shouldn't have them open. It's absolutely extraordinary. Where you've got the Labour Party opposing jobs being created for working class people. I mean, you really couldn't make it up. It's absolute insanity. And as I say, even if you believe that CO2 is a problem, this is actually reducing emissions because we're not importing, which would cause more CO2 emissions. It's absolutely fantastic. But what I think is, why should we only have one industry being supported? Why aren't we fracking and creating cheap and abundant energy for everybody, hospitality, all of the industries, I think this is wonderful, a fantastic forward step.
Well, that is a question. Stay right there, Lois. I'm also joined by Just Stop Oil spokesperson James Skeet. James, thank you very much for joining me. James, I want to ask you, what do you make of the independent reports finding the neutral impact that this could have? So this could be a neutral impact in terms of net zero targets. Surely this is a good thing if we are opening a coal mine in this way.
Nana, that's a complete lie. That report is actually talking about the extraction emissions. It's not actually talking about the emissions that would come about from burning the coal. This decision shows that this government is entirely stuck in the past. They have no vision of the future. They have no answer to the cost of living climate crises affecting this country. This decision is a betrayal of every child in this country, and it shows to everyone that we're led by a criminally inept government who must be immediately removed from power before they do any more damage.
Yeah, but can I just ask then, how do you propose we make steel then if we don't use coal? I mean, and otherwise also we'll be importing, so therefore there will be carbon emissions in order to get this stuff to us, and it'll only be offset somewhere else.
So to your first point, Nana, actually the world is moving towards hydrogen production for steel production. In fact, the former director for British Steel is advocating for us moving towards hydrogen, and also with regards to your point about import emissions. Actually, 83% of the coal extracted from this will be exported. It's no good for our steel production. It's going to be sold on the international markets, and therefore it's just only going to be for the purpose of enriching millionaires and billionaires that this government work for. They don't care about British people. They don't care about our energy independence or security. It's a lie.
Well, I think the operative word there is, you said, moving towards hydrogen production. We're not there, though, are we? So this would be an interim procedure. Let me bring Lois Perry back in from Car26, because I want to pose the same question. Lois, could you respond to James for me, please?
Yeah, I mean, what he's talking about with hydrogen is absolute nonsense. I was talking to the acclaimed physicist and engineer that's been on your programme many times, Brian Catt, about an hour ago about this. And he said that actually the coking of the coal and the coal itself is actually an ingredient in the steel. It's not just being used to create the energy to make the steel. It's a component of the steel itself. So saying that it can be used, hydrogen and other things can be used is actually completely wrong. But it's so funny him talking about millionaires and billionaires when it's mega rich billionaires that are funding Just Stop Oil, who have massive oil interests in the US. And the reason why they want to just stop oil, the new contracts, is to keep the price of their oil higher. What an absolute... Well, whatever.
James, I needed to respond to that because, you know, we do know that Just Stop Oil does have some very big backers who are extremely wealthy.
Yeah, I believe Eileen Getty. So Lois is referring to Eileen Getty. Yeah, she did actually inherit a lot of her money from her father.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, like, we'll take money from anyone if they want to sort of undo the damages of
people to stop oil. That's fantastic. Could you just say that again? That's brilliant.
With regards to what you said before, actually, there's actually a diminishing need for coking as that you're speaking about. So actually what will happen is that coal is probably just going to be ended up burning for energy production elsewhere in the world. It's not going to benefit us for energy security. Now, Lois, you and I would probably agree on a great deal of things, that we need energy independence, we need energy security. The best way of doing that is to invest in green jobs, green renewables. In fact, if we invested in Cumbria, we could have 4,500 green jobs as opposed to the 500 of this project.
We are investing in Cumbria and we're creating 500 jobs. Complete nonsense what you're talking about.
Let him finish. Lois, let him finish. Let him finish. Sorry. You've got about 10 seconds.
The transition to renewables would give us the energy security that we need. Offshore wind is 9 times cheaper, all right, than fossil fuels at this time. Okay, like imagine cutting your energy costs by 9 times. The reason that the rich want us to do this is because it would result in a decentralized energy grid. Okay.
Okay. So hold on.
The energy bill.
Okay. So you think that? Okay. Well, let's let Lois. I'm going to give you the last word to respond on that.
Okay, anything can be 9 times cheaper if it's subsidised by the government to the tune of 9 times cheaper. It really isn't cheaper. It needs constant gas to back it up.
Let Lois finish. James, I gave you your chance.
I'm absolutely delighted that Just Stop Oil has admitted that it's funded by oil companies. Thank you.
Well, listen, I think that's it. Thank you very much. James
and she's spent you can Google her, she spent the last decades investing in environmental organisations. It's not a secret, that's fine.
Well, no, it certainly isn't, James. Listen, we're running out of time, but thank you so much for that. James Skeet, thank you so much for talking to me. And Lois Perry, really good to talk to you as well, Director of Car 26. Really good to talk to them. Right, this is GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. On the way, we'll continue with our Great British Debate this hour. I'm asking, is coal the right way forward? You'll hear the thoughts of my panel, broadcaster and columnist Lizzie Cundy, and also consultant editor at the Daily Mail, Andrew Pearce. But first, let's get your latest news headlines.
Nana, thank you. I'm Tatiana Sanchez in the GB newsroom. At least 3 people have been killed in an explosion on the island of Jersey. The blast happened at a block of flats in the early hours of the morning in St Helier. It's feared the number of casualties could still climb, with around a dozen people thought to be missing. Chief Fire Officer Paul Brown says the search and rescue operation could take days.
It is a total collapse. And so the primary challenge is that, one, it is dangerous to operate in and around the area, but secondly, anything that we do or don't do in the wrong way might then jeopardise the chances of survival for somebody who might yet be able to be, sort of rescued. So we have to do everything in a slow, methodical way, and we have to make sure that all of the right equipment with the right expertise is in place in order to do that.
Energy regulator Ofgem says it's extremely concerned that vulnerable people in Sheffield have been without gas for a week. Hundreds of customers lost their heating after a water main burst last Friday, saturating the gas network. Ofgem has described the situation as extremely difficult, made worse by the sudden cold snap. Meanwhile, freezing temperatures have been causing travel problems across the country. Manchester Airport was forced to temporarily close both runways after heavy snow, affecting dozens of flights. Yellow warnings are in place across Scotland, Northern Ireland, Wales, the southwest and southeast of England this weekend, with temperatures expected to drop to as low as -10 degrees in some isolated areas. Excitement is building with the World Cup quarter-final between England and defending champions France due to kick off in around an hour and a half's time. The winner will face Morocco, which has become the first African nation to make it through to the semis after beating Portugal 1-0. TV, online and DAB+ radio. This is GB News.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates.
Do you not believe in prison?
I don't believe in prisons.
I'm completely
Right.
stunned.
I guarantee you there'll be no spin, no bias, no censorship.
I actually was personally quite offended by it.
And no reason to go to bed.
So I guess they've always been quite woke.
That's Dan Wootton tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
The national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents. Whether you're with us on TV, radio or online, every morning it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. for Gloria Meets. In exclusive interviews, I'll be finding out who our politicians really are and what they really think.
It's something that you would never want anyone to suffer.
I didn't know what channels there were. I didn't think I'd be believed.
I must have weighed about 7 stone and I'm 5'8".
My instincts was to sort of cover this up. I mean, clearly that was a mistake.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, it's Eamon Holmes here from Breakfast on GB News. We're not just on your television and your screens, you know.
We're on DAB plus digital radio, so you can listen to your favourite shows on the move.
If you've not yet listened to GB News Radio, it's very simple. We're on your radio player and tune-in apps, on your smart speaker, phone or tablet, or online at gbnews.uk.
Take us with you wherever you go. GB News Radio.
You never have to miss a moment of the People's Channel.
My name's Tom Harwood and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today.
I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked.
Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
Things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Hello, I'm Simon Evans. Join me on GB News for Headliners at 11 p.m, where I'll be joined by two of the country's top comedians as we take a look at tomorrow's newspapers tonight. If it's a big story, we'll be covering it, I guarantee, but we'll also have some fun along the way. That's GB News Headliners at 11 p.m. We won't put you to sleep, unlike some of the other paper review shows out there. So join us, 11 p.m, 7 nights a week.
It is fast approaching 40 minutes after 5 o'clock. Welcome on board. This is GB News on TV, online and on digital radio. I'm Nana Akua. Now, it's time for our Great British Debate this hour. I'm asking, is coal the right way forward? Opposition is growing. That's following the government's decision to approve plans for a new coal mine in Cumbria worth $165 million. Now, this will be the first in the country for more than 30 years. Communities Secretary Michael Gove gave the product the go-ahead as he claimed that it would have a neutral effect on climate change, on a whole, whatever that means. And those who support the move argue the mine would create jobs and benefit the wider economy. But critics have hit out at the government, stating that it would threaten the country's climate change targets, dubbing it a retrograde decision. So for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, is coal the right way forward? Let's see what my panel make of that. I'm joined by Andrew Pearce and Lizzie Cundy. Lizzie Cundy, is coal the right way forward? Not Andy Cole or Michael Cole or whatever those footballers are called.
No more football talk. Yeah. yes, at last go, you've done something I agree with. Yes, indeed. Look, we've got to be energy independent, and look at what's happened this year with the war in Ukraine and everything else. And we need to be independent, and I can't bear this race for net zero because it's ridiculous. It's not going to make any sense for us because we're only 1% carbon emissions. We can't even get China to COP27, who are the hugest, ones with, it's in the 30s, I think now, and India and USA. It's just pointless.
Well, that's obviously because we buy stuff off them, so
exactly
we offset the coal there, don't we?
And look, and for any country, the three strategic resources we need is defence, food and energy. And this is such a good thing, and this is what we need to do. And the first order of any government is look after its own people, and that's what we're doing. Why import from other countries?
Well, you heard what the Just Stop Oil Jason said, though, about it. He'll take money from anyone.
Yes, I did. I think
he just landed himself in it.
He has. I don't think he'll be wheeled out as a spokesman too often in the future, do you? Because that is the gift that's going to keep on giving. And the woman debating with him, Lois wiped the floor with him. I think there's a great irony about this, and I think Lois made the point that, it was your point, that the Labour Party, which raged about Mrs Thatcher in the miners' strike in the 1980s, now opposing the opening of this coal mine. Although it should be pointed out, Mrs Thatcher closed fewer coal mines than Harold Wilson's Labour government. They don't like it when that statistic's pointed out, but that's an absolute fact. But Lizzie's right, we've got to get energy wherever we can. I think not only get this coal mine up and running, great, let's get back into the North Sea. There's lots of oil still there and potential for fracking. We're about to buy a load of liquefied gas from fracking from the United States, which comes over on a ship, get endless carbon emissions into the universe. We should get on with it here. That was what Liz Truss was going to do, but Rishi's put a stop to that. And that's not because he objects to fracking, it's because often it will be in Conservative marginal seats. And he's very worried about the general election. But I think this is a really sensible decision. It's taken months to get there. Now get on and start digging.
But what about the argument that, of course, we are going to net zero? This won't help us towards net zero.
Well, it won't make
all
a
the
difference.
emissions that this coal will give out. I mean, you remember the smog days, or you probably don't. None of us are alive then. Maybe you, Andrew. No, I'm joking. God, I'm getting so inside.
Oh,
I wouldn't. I'm too much of a gentleman.
But we've got to think about the environment. What about the environment?
But we'd have to import.
But it's a global. We can't even get China to COP27.
Well, the immediate environment, we'd have to import that coal, which would come to Britain on some form of vessel, which would be pumping stuff into the atmosphere. So that's why it's carbon neutral.
We have the vast natural resources,
and it's going to create jobs.
Well, haven't we? We've got the natural resources, and we've made stupid mistakes in the past. Our long-term decisions have been awful, like giving away the reserves in 2017, still giving our resources to Belgium, Netherlands. Come on, this is the right move, and I'm sorry. It's not going to make a difference to climate change.
We haven't had an energy policy in this country for 30, 40 years. Perhaps we're now beginning to get one.
What about, do you think it will have a positive effect on the prices of energy? Do you think that now, if we do that, it will bring the prices down? And do you actually think that we'll start to even open more coal mines?
I think
it will.
I think it's potential, and I think it will be welcomed in parts of Northern England because of the jobs it will create.
Exactly.
And we must not rely any longer on the blood-stained despot called Vladimir Putin.
But exactly. We cannot be, and this is a warning to us, we can't be held ransom by anyone or other countries. We need to be energy independent. But also for Keir Starmer, oh my God, so hypocritical. I cannot believe this man, that he now changes. He's gives the advice on everything, responsible for nothing.
Well, that's the price of opposition. You don't have to say anything. But this show is nothing without you and your views. Let's welcome our great British voices, your opportunity to be on the show. Tell me what you really think about the topics we're discussing today. I've got 4 of you. Yeah, who have I got? Let's start with Dr. Seshni. Seshni, she's there in Milton Keynes. You've got about 30 seconds. I have to tell her that, otherwise, gosh. Go on, Seshni.
Good evening, Nana.
Good evening.
Thank you for the UB40 interview. That was amazing. But getting back to the coal story, yes, we do need coal, Nana. Coal provides 69% of the electricity that we need, together with gas and wood. I do understand that coal, people are concerned about the pollution, air pollution, and the CO2 emissions, but it is a cheaper form of energy, and also it's going to, as you've heard, it's going to provide a lot of jobs. So yes, coal is the way forward.
I think it's the way forward. Thank you, Seshni. And Alan McNeely, he's there in Grimsby. Alan, what do you think? You're Grimsby, you must be nearby some of that stuff.
Good afternoon, Nana, and your panel. I think it's absolutely cracking news, Nana. Long overdue. There's a lot of complaining about we'll be exporting a lot of it. Well, that's absolutely brilliant because we'll be putting money into the exchequer, we'll be creating some jobs. And I hope that they actually have a look around the country to see which other mines could be opened. It's a good, cheap source of energy. And I cannot imagine that in the 40-odd years since they closed down the coal mines that they can't produce clean coal. There must be a way of scrubbing the emissions. So, yeah, absolutely cracking. I hope there's more of it. Let them get fracking as well.
Maybe that's the way forward, working out how you can make coal clean. Jonathan Jones, he's there in Cornwall from Tregosan Tea. Hello, Jonathan.
No, 100%. We've got to keep the cat.
Oh, this always happens. Oh, God. Have you got some tea in your Wi-Fi? It sounds like it's drowning. We can't hear you, Jonathan. Jonathan, try again.
It's a national security thing as well, Nana. We've got to keep the kettles on. And no doubt about it, I think Gover's got this right. And, we should do more R&D, still look at the renewables, but it's 100% right that we should be self-sufficient in energy and get that coal dug up as soon as we can before the nutters stop it being dug up, I think.
Right. Well, lovely. Well, so far so good. Everyone's supporting it. Let's go to Julie Ford in Bedfordshire. Julie.
Hi, Nana. Yeah, and I'm in total agreement as well. I think it's a brilliant idea. Gover's really got this one right. And I absolutely agree with what Lizzie just said as well. It will make us an independent source of energy, which as an island we really should be. So I'm 100% behind this.
Wonderful. So there's our great British voices. Thank you so much, Seshni in Milton Keynes, Alan in Grimsby, Jonathan in Cornwall and Julie in Bedfordshire. Thank you very much. They're our great British voices. Fabulous to hear you. Right, let's turn our attention now to the World Cup. Morocco have been defeated. They've defeated Portugal, in their quarter-final 1-0 this afternoon. It means England could be facing the Moroccan side in the semi-final. That is, of course, if the Three Lions can win against France this evening. What do you think? Fans in Qatar, as well as up and down this country, are gearing up for a historic match. Let's speak to Theo Chikomba, who's there in Fan Zone in Wapping. Theo, and also, who else is there? Is there somebody else next to you as well? Is that... Oh, no. Hello, Theo. Sorry, I thought there was another clip. There's somebody actually next to you in an England shirt. Theo, what's going on there? Talk to me.
Yeah, well, good afternoon / good evening. It's strange, isn't it, having a World Cup game in the dark in the middle of December. But we are here today, and England have got this far, and everyone's going to be cheering them on tonight. Here in East London, there's plenty of people who have started to arrive already. This place is going to be packed out. The game is kicking off at 7 p.m. And I'm kindly joined by the venue manager, Harry. Thank you so much for your time. So how have you been preparing for tonight as well?
So it's a bit of a mad one, really. I mean, obviously, Christmas in full swing. World Cup's falling at a bit of a weird time of year for us. So we've kind of had to do a bit of both. But we've had the whole competition now to wind up to a big moment like tonight. England playing France on a Saturday night in December. It's once in a lifetime, so it's going to be a busy one.
I suppose you and your team have, seen lots of games in the last few weeks. Did you think we'd get this far?
I had an inkling. We had an inkling. So last World Cup, obviously semi-final. The Euros got to the final, so I knew Gareth would do well. But yeah, I was hoping for a slightly easier game in the quarterfinals, but we'll see how we go.
Well, it's certainly not going to be easy. France tonight, thank you so much for your time. There's lots of people going to be here this evening, and we'll be giving you the live action, hearing from fans as well over the next few hours.
Well, thank you very much, Theo. First time we've spoken as well. Let's go to Paul Hawkins. He's there in Qatar. I've got some Qatar. Sorry, Paul. How's it going?
Yeah, good. Yes. It's taken us a while to get. We're just about to go into an England fan party at the Intercontinental Hotel. It's taken us a while to get here because the traffic is unbelievable. Tens of thousands of Moroccan fans have moved onto the streets. They're driving around, honking their horns, waving their flags. People are hanging out of sunroofs because it's a huge moment. Morocco beating Portugal earlier 1-0, El Nesri, with that winning goal. The first African country to qualify for the World Cup semi-finals, the first Arab country to reach the World Cup semi-finals, and they have been flying the flag for the Arab world here. It's become like a focal point for everyone in Qatar and around the Middle East. So huge moment for Moroccan, for African, for Arab football, them reaching the World Cup semi-finals. Whether it's going to be England or France, we don't know. The favourites are France, of course, but you'd have to say England do have the tools in their armoury to really make France work for that. And we've got the starting lineup that's just come through. England unchanged from the team that played Senegal in the last game. It's all to play for, really, and it kicks off in just around about just over an hour's time.
Wonderful. Well, listen, we'll be watching from the pub at the Christmas party. Listen, you have a nice time, Paul. Thank you so much. That's Paul Hawkins live in Qatar. Wonderful, wonderful. Of course, the football match is on later on. But now it's time for our Quickfire quiz. It's the part of the show where I test my panel on some of the stories hitting the headlines. I'm joined now by broadcaster and columnist Lizzie Cundy. Lizzie, press your buzzer. Also, consultant editor at the Daily Mail, Andrew Pearce, press your buzzer. And also Matt Hoy, ex-UB40 with his own thing, strong. Press your buzzer. Very nice, right.
Mine's the best.
Brilliant,
Why has he got the biggest one?
Yeah, you've got the big one.
It was the odd one. The other ones, somebody's nicked it here. Now, remember, listen, this is the rule, Matt. You've obviously not done this before. Do not press your buzzer before I finish the question.
Right.
Otherwise, you'll be ejected from your seat and disqualified.
Understood.
Very strict.
Understood.
Right, let's begin. All right, here we go. Please play along at home. Question 1. A Harry Potter-themed 50p coin has been launched, and it's the last to include a portrait of our late Queen. But what image can you see on the other side? Is it A, broomstick, B, a hedge wig, Harry Potter owl, or the Hogwarts Express? Oh, that was Matt. Matt?
Hogwarts Express.
Hogwarts Express. Well, any other takers?
I was going to go for the owl.
The owl. Is actually, see, the Hogwarts Express.
Oh, well
Matt,
done.
well done.
That was a guess as well.
Well, listen, these two got nothing last time. The Royal Mint launched the coin as part of a collection that celebrates 25 years after the Harry Potter series was first published. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone was J.K. Rowling's first ever novel. Did any of you into Harry Potter? Anybody?
Yeah, I read all the books.
Yeah.
Did you really?
Saw all the films.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved all the paparazzi shots.
What about you?
No, not really. My son was into the films, so that's all right. Yeah.
Do you mean the paparazzi shots that were used?
Yeah, we used for the Meg flicks.
Yeah, those ones. Not just disingenuous at all. Right, question 2. The UK's longest-serving Santa has no plans to give up his job. But for how long has he been handing out gifts to the great British public each Christmas? Closest answer wins. Press your buzzer before you speak. Matt?
40 years.
40 years.
50.
55.
OK, let's see. The answer is 60.
Oh!
Well done, Andrew. At last. Very good. Yes, 78-year-old.
Got a question right. There we go.
Ray Holt has been proudly brightened up children's Christmases since 1962 and has never missed a single year. He's raised over 55 grand. Have any of you ever dressed up with Father Christmas or Santa?
No.
Yes.
I knew it was...
Yes.
I knew it.
A real Santa Claus. Yeah. Real Santa.
Well, you're a sexy Santa.
A sexy Santa. Well,
Of course. Right, next question. I hope you're not stealing questions out of my questions. We can do all 5. The next question, thank you. The Sun newspaper has been doing their best to antagonise the French this week ahead of tonight's massive quarter-final match. But what do they do? Do they A, send white flags to French newspaper offices, B, recreate the infamous Up Yours Delors front page on the newspaper, or C, purchase billboard adverts across Paris with images of England football players proclaimed as the King saying, "It's coming home"? I think that was... Might have been... Was it Andrew? Or was it Lizzie?
this is a guess. I'm going to go for C.
You're going to say, what do you think?
I'm saying C too.
I say A.
You say C, she says A. It's C! Purchase billboards.
It's coming home.
Absolutely, that's exactly what happened. Right, let's go to your next question. Oh, what, you've got rid of the question?
Well, that means I've won.
I think that does. I can't believe it.
Well done, 2-1.
And maybe that's going to be the score tonight.
No. Well, let's hope England win tonight. For good. No, don't go to penalties.
1-0.
Well, one
time. Do you think it's going to be 1-0?
Nah, they're going to lose. They never win anything. They're not going to win. They're going to crack. They always do.
I can't watch if it's penalties.
Well, listen, I won't be watching, so I'm at a charity dinner, but I'll be with them in spirit. Come on, England.
He's got his lucky pants on.
Well, listen, really?
Yeah.
On today's show, we've been asking, should Harry and Meghan be stripped of their titles? According to our Twitter poll, 92% of you say yes, 8% of you say no. Thank you so much to my panel, broadcaster and columnist Lizzie Cundy. Thank you, Lizzie. Consultant editor at the Daily Mail, Andrew Pearce, for joining me. And also joining me, Matt Hoy. Thank you so much, Matt. Lovely to see you.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to hearing your single. In fact, a huge thank you to you at home as well for your company. I'll be back at 4 p.m. tomorrow to discuss the top stories with author and broadcaster Christine Hamilton and broadcaster and journalist Danny Kelly. I'll leave you with this one. It's strong. It's Matt. Stay fabulous.
Strength and unity to push us through the dark. Guidance and understanding and insight to our hearts. Not now, not ever will you take away our confidence. Not now, not ever will you make us feel irrelevant.
Looking ahead to this evening's weather, and the UK is looking cold but mainly dry with some showers for northern and western coasts. Let's take a look at the details. Across southwest England, showers will ease for many inland but will continue for northern coasts of Devon and Cornwall and may turn wintry in places. A cold evening with a widespread frost. A mostly dry evening for southeast England, though, may be the odd shower for far southern coasts. Cold with a chance of freezing fog in places. For southern Wales, showers will continue around the coast, though any further inland may be wintry. Staying cold again with a frosty night to come. Across the Midlands, a mostly dry evening to come with maybe just the odd shower that may turn wintry over any higher ground. Cold once again with some freezing fog developing in places. For northeast England, it will be a dry end to Saturday though, and we may see the odd light shower for coasts. Some mist or freezing fog developing through the evening and feeling cold. Showers will push southwards across southern Scotland this evening and overnight, some of which will be of snow over high ground and a mix of rain and snow to lower levels. A widely dry evening across Northern Ireland with some clear spells developing. A chance of the odd shower mainly in the northeast later, which could be wintry over high ground. A cold and frosty night with some patches of freezing fog. Showers, some wintry continuing for northern and western coasts. And that's how the weather's shaping up overnight into tomorrow morning.
We are GB News, and we'd like to say thank you to each and every one of you for bringing us your conversations, for helping our great nation find its voice. We are here for you on radio, television, and online, across England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland.
It's not the BBC, you actually get your facts right.
We are proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
Monday to Thursday on GB News, it's Bev Turner Today from 10 a.m. We're going to be here for you, our GB News family, to keep you up to date, but also make you smile.
The guy went from puberty to adultery.
And I can't wait to bring a few of my own opinions.
I have no time for cultural totalitarianism.
We'll engage in passionate, but always polite debate with your thoughts and opinions